See, he can be a real sweetheart once you get to know him.
And it was said that on that day, the shippers' hearts grew 10 times their normal size as the beginning of the Flutter court shipping began. Hello everyone, I'm Keen47, aka Wolfkeen, and welcome to another edition of my My Little Pony Vlogs for Season 3. Today, I'm talking about Keep Calm and Flutter On, written by Dave Polsky. This is an interesting episode because, well, we all know who comes back in this episode, so let's get started. The episode basically starts with about 4 members of the main 6 waiting for, apparently, Princess Celestia, because apparently she's bringing something to them that's a matter of importance. And, well, pretty much, we see this. Now, I know a lot of people's reactions here were different because some people were spoiled about who was coming back in this episode, and others, like myself, weren't spoiled, so we got the full reaction of when we saw this character come back. Me, I wasn't spoiled, so when I saw this character, Discord, come back, I was like, yes! Because, as I've said before, I consider Discord the same thing as Sheogorath. If you know who Sheogorath is, then I don't need to say much, but Sheogorath is the Daedric Prince of Chaos in the Elder Scrolls series. Honestly, just go look up Sheogorath's dialogue and then just compare him to Discord and you'll understand why I consider him, you know, like the love child of Sheogorath and the Riddler. You'll understand that in a minute. So basically what Celestia's plan is that she wants to try to reform Discord because she believes that she can, you know, use his power for good instead of evil. And she feels like that, you know, like she feels like that this is going to be necessary in the near future. Okay. However, she says she wants Fluttershy to do this because apparently she might have the best way of approaching this way. So, now we move on to Fluttershy, who's basically helping Applejack with a bit of a problem with a couple of beavers in Sweet Apple Acres. They resolve it as quickly as possible, and then they move on to basically, well, basically, Celestia said it. She wants Fluttershy to try to do this, to see if she could reform Discord. So now we move on to the main 6 basically getting ready to release Discord. Celestia decided to cast a spell on the elements of harmony, so this way Discord can't take them away from them, and he can't make them disappear or anything of the sort. So now we get this immediately cool animation, but then again, it kind of seems like it was probably reused anyways, of bringing Discord back from being stone, and of course he begins his wild antics of basically snapping his fingers and causing different things to change in the world, like, you know, a bunny becoming a monster and other stuff like that. Which, you know, he does say that he knew what they were going to do because even though he was turned to stone, he could still hear what they're saying. Kind of makes you wonder, like, exactly if that's actually true for when he was stuck in stone for 1,000 years. Could he actually hear everything that people were saying, especially in the Canterlot Gardens? Go to your keyboards, fanfiction writers. Go wild. But basically, he pretty much says, like, pretty much the main 6 warn him that if he doesn't turn those animals back to normal, Celestia will probably understand us turning you back to stone because you're not listening. And he concedes that point but of course he decides to do one other thing.
Oopsie.
Are you talking to me? Because if you are, you know breaking the 4th wall is Pinkie Pie's job. So basically, we move on to Fluttershy, who's basically trying to be a nice house guest, and basically we get my favorite portion of the episode, Angel getting abused. I'm sorry, but after freaking putting your hoof down, you freaking deserve it, Angel. I know this may make me out to be a bit mean-spirited, but I don't care. He deserves it! And Fluttershy pretty much says that she has an idea of trying to help reform Discord by basically trying to be, you know, like a good house guest by being very open with him and try to, you know, like actually try to understand him. So that's Fluttershy's plan, to try to at least understand him and talk with him and, you know, try to actually be his friend. So then, of course, the remaining 5 have this other plan. They want to come up with another plan in case that plan doesn't work. And this is one portion of the episode that does bug me in some cases. Twilight at one point in the episode is looking for a reform spell. A reform spell. I mean, I'm not taking this out of context. She says it herself in this scene.
I really want to have a reforming spell up and running pronto.
Okay. That bugs me to high heaven. Because why does Twilight have such dangerous spells in her library? I mean, really think about how dangerous that would be. A reform spell. Being able to change a person's personality and turn them into something else. Against their will. I thought you were the good guys. But we found out that Discord was eating paper, and apparently that probably one of those papers that he was eating, well, all the paper he was eating, was, you know, any possibility of a reform spell. So Fluttershy tells Twilight to bring everybody, all her friends to the house so they can have a dinner party, and even says that she'll improve Discord's manners by the time they come in. So Fluttershy does, so, you know, Fluttershy's friends does come in, and you know something? Doesn't the interior of this place look like, like Alice in Wonderland? I don't know if that was intentional or just because. And then, of course, like, you know, the dinner party goes through, but of course, many members of the main six are kind of being leery towards Discord. More so with Rainbow Dash, because she is being very aggressive against Discord. Now, I can understand this because of, you know, Discord for what he did, but I think Rainbow Dash is being too aggressive, if you ask my honest opinion. When the gravy bowl is basically, you know, like pouring gravy for everyone, Rainbow Dash says, and I quote, "That's one weird gravy bowl." And even Fluttershy calls her out saying, like, "Oh, come on, Dashy, you're not even trying." She's not. She's really not. I mean, think about it. And I know some people try to say, "Oh, but look at all the stuff that happened during the dinner party." Okay, some of the instances I could say, yeah, Discord was being a bit of a douche. However, a lot of those instances was Rainbow Dash's fault. Calling the gravy bowl weird, she deserved to have gravy poured on her. You know, blowing out the candles when they were trying to dance in front of every pony, yeah, she deserved to get beat down by it. And of course, like, when Applejack said something fishy going on around here, yeah, that fish thing spewing juice at her, or was that tea, whatever, yeah, that was kind of deserved. But afterwards, the rest of it was undeserved. Honestly, in many cases, Fluttershy is right, because her friends is not giving Discord a chance whatsoever, but at the same time, Discord's not really, like, trying to be friends with them either. So it's kind of like a weird sense of limbo, if you think about it, that they're both just kind of like going against each other instead of actually trying to cooperate with each other, which happens. Okay. Now, do you remember that scene I showed you earlier on when Discord broke the fourth wall and turned a bunch of beavers into those monstrous things? Well, Angel Bunny comes back and basically does a bit of charades and says there's flooding going on in Sweet Apple Acres. And basically, Sweet Apple Acres is completely flooded. And then we get to one portion of the episode that does bug me in some cases. Well, not anymore, luckily, but I'll explain it in a minute. Pretty much, like, Rainbow Dash calls off Fluttershy saying, "You know this is Discord, right?" And she's like, "Of course, do you think I'm some gullible fool?" And then her friends stutter, like, nice friends. I mean, seriously, it's not that hard to say no. And the other problem I have with this is that, okay, I'm going to say this right now. The remaining five, besides Fluttershy, they are really kind of rough in this episode. Not bad, but rough. I understand that it's Discord, they're being, you know, cautious, but there's a difference between being cautious and being, you know, downright, you know, unmovable. And in many cases, they were being unmovable. If you really think about it, they were being very unmovable in many cases. I mean, seriously, when Fluttershy asked them, "Do you think I'm some gullible fool?" none of them said no right away. They all just stuttered and tried to find the right words. That shows that they had no faith in Fluttershy whatsoever. Ergo, they were being very, you know, like, unmovable towards trying to let her handle this situation. But then we hear from Fluttershy that she's trying to get Discord's friendship by any means necessary, and this is what leads to my biggest problem. Fluttershy uses her friendship as a leash on Discord. And that does bug me. However, here's the thing. it is shown in later season episodes that their friendship is actually pretty genuine. So, luckily, later season episodes do make this episode better, at least in that concept where Fluttershy uses her friendship as sort of a leash, where it becomes more apparent that they actually are friends. But I'll get to that when I get to Season 4. So basically Fluttershy asks Discord to get rid of all of the water, help fix Sweet Apple Acres, but Discord in return wants Fluttershy to never use her element of harmony against her. She agrees to this, and of course Discord doesn't make the place better and decides to turn it all into a frozen wonderland. And basically, Fluttershy wants to keep to her promise about her not, her not using her element on Discord. And Discord decides to use that as a leash, as a crutch, basically saying, she can't help you because we're friends. She won't want to try to undo any of this because we're friends. I'm free! And then Fluttershy finally, decides to stop, basically stop being friends with him. And then Discord pretty much says, what makes you think I'm going to change all this back? Just because I'm going to lose the only friend I ever had in my life? And then he finally snaps, being like, oh. That was the biggest realization for him. And he even says it well played, Fluttershy. Well played. And Discord decides to basically he says that he's willing to use his powers for good instead of evil most of the time. And pretty much we get our moral of the episode, and then we get, the one line that really hurts.
Say it.
All right. Friendship is magic.
Oh, that hurt. That hurt a lot. That line hurt. Ow. And that's Keep Calm and Flutter On. What do I think about this episode? I do like this episode. Don't get me wrong. I do like this episode. I mean, Discord's one of my favorite villains from Season 2. And for him to come back and be reformed, basically be a character that comes back in later seasons, I'm okay with this, because that means we get more Discord and more of his antics. And luckily, in later seasons, we do see that Discord hasn't changed too much. However, my biggest problem with this episode is a couple of factors. One, Fluttershy's friends had no faith in her. The main 6 besides Fluttershy had no faith in Fluttershy whatsoever. So much so to the point that they were trying to come up with alternate plans. They were being very, adamant against Discord. Well, I can understand why, but they were still being adamant in many cases. Not trying to let Fluttershy do this, or being, not even trying to get along with him. And even to the point, I hate the fact that they had no faith in Fluttershy. It's why? Hasn't she proven to be, very capable and other stuff of the in other episodes? And in this episode, all of a sudden you have no faith in her? I mean, she was the only one to not get affected by Discord's magic, so... Really? And then, of course, Fluttershy using her friendship as a leash on Discord. This bugged me when I first watched the episode, but luckily, thanks to later season episodes, it does make this problem a little less, problematic, I think is the best word. But you know my idea, guys. I don't take later season episodes into the quality of a current season episode. So, as it stands, that, using her friendship as a leash does bug me a lot when you don't consider Season 4. And not to mention the main 6 being so adamant against Discord and, not even giving Fluttershy a chance to try to do what she needs to do. It just bugs me to a massive extent. The entertainment value in this episode is good. Characters, I would say, is okay, but that's really about it for me. I mean, I think this episode is okay. At least for me, I think this episode is okay. So, not much else for me to say. So, until next time, I'm Keen47, aka Wolfkeen. Hope you enjoyed, and until next time, guys, take care.